Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video, and we're getting a cameo from my handsome little boy Nemo over here. Hey. The camera's that way, Nemo. It's like, no dad, I'm not gonna showcase my handsome face. I don't want the ladies to get all over me. Right? I love you, Nemo. But in this video, we're going to talk about why the CW bosses killed the Arrowverse. So I'm interested because I've been interested in the Arrowverse for since which Arrow was the only show since the pilot episode of Arrow, and I've actually watched all the shows up until the last episode of Flash, even though killed my brain cells to watch Batwoman. Killed my brain cells. But let's actually read what this article has to say, shall we? CW President Brad Skellwords explains the reason behind the death of the network's Arrowverse shows. The recent end of The Flash was season 9 brought the Arrowverse to a swift and perhaps unceremonious end. One by one, Flash's sister series like Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow either ended or were cancelled. And future programming that may have been in the pipeline, such as Justice EU, ceased development. Indeed, the one final and robust shared superheroes universe dwindled to but a single series, which has now concluded. But the final nail in the Arrowverse coffin seemed to come from the CW's network, which was home to the series, being acquired by the Nexar Group in 2022. So why did the CW kill the Arrowverse? I kind of paraphrased the title, but same question. The Hollywood Reporter interviewed the recently installed president of the CW, Brian Skoritz, who got the job out after Warner Bros. Sold the network to Nexstar. He took over for longtime CEO Mark Pedowitz, who continually championed the Arrowverse and greenlit most of its shows during his tenure. Skoritz, who was previously quoted as saying the primary goal was to revamp the CW into something profitable after years of operating at a loss, shed further light on the decisions made that ultimately ended the Arrowverse. They were the hallmarks of the CW for a long time. As we looked forward and tried to make this network bigger and profitable, frankly, as much as we all love those shows and their time, they're not working on linear. The CW has been looking to adding cheaper unscripted programs as this attempts to expand its market reach into older demographics. As such, the Arrowverse and related series like Superman and Lois had to go because, in the eyes of the network, they were too expensive to produce. It also should be noted that Superman and Lois has not actually been cancelled yet and is still hanging on the verge. But with the show's budget being as high as it is, renewal odds appear slim. I have to say before we continue, since they brought up Superman and Lois, who likes to flirt whether or not they want to be part of the Arrowverse or not, the show's good. I think that show is worth putting the investment in to making greenlighting season 4. And I think because people like me aren't really into it. Sure, some people aren't into the whole Lois having cancer seeing thing, sure, but I'm digging the whole Superman Lois show. It's the best DC show since Arrow, in my opinion. So if we like, and to be fair, and this is me coming like to the middle ground with Next Door. Why not greenlight season 4 to be the greenlight season 4, but tell the people who are behind Superman and Lois, which I've heard worked on like the Flash in the early years. I'm sorry, but season 4 will have to be the last season, so do what you guys can to wrap that series up. And I think that's fair. Because I think Superman and Lois does deserve. It's one of those shows that deserves a season where, like, kind of like how Stargirl was. How Stargirl had a season where they properly wrapped things up. And they knew, and apparently the showrunners of Stargirl knew that there was that chance of wrapping, like, Stargirl wouldn't make it past, like, season 3. They want to go into season 4. So they wrote in a series finale that would have taken out, like, told us what it would have been for season 4 and 5, but was also a pretty good ending to the series, I feel like. And Superman and Lois could potentially do the same thing. So I'll be up for, like, the CW giving that same grace to, like, the Flash, essentially, and to Stargirl for Superman and Lois. So that's just me. Anyways, Skullworks continue remarking on the fact that the CW doesn't possess the streaming rights to the previous seasons of the shows like Superman and Gotham Knights. The former currently streams on Max, which is reportedly to be the network's greatest deterrent. We don't have the rights to prior seasons. It was frustrating for us because we can't tell people to go catch up on Superman and Lois, and it's on HBO Max, and it's the 30th priority there. It's tough. If you want to be in the business on a show and connect the show to audience everywhere, you need to have the whole library. And I can see that being frustrating. Additionally, according to Skullworks, young adult viewers, such as the ones that comprise most of the Arrowverse audience, just aren't into broadcast television anymore, as today's youth are far more interested in streaming originals. Skullworks intend to strategically use the knowledge of the statistics as an opportunity to reach different audience spaces. That audience has abandoned broadcast, hence the opportunity we have to broaden the audience. Well, they say young adults. I was a young adult, and I did enjoy Arrow, The Flash, especially within the first few seasons. Yeah, like later on, kind of like with Arrow, it had like hit or miss. Black Lightning I enjoyed, even though like my biggest criticism just that they shoved out, hey, Black Power, every 5 seconds. Stargirl, which was I feel like loosely based in this Arrowverse, but not, cause like I say loosely based because like she was on Earth too. That was a good show. Batwoman's Listen to Up Tomorrow I loved, and I know that was a cheesy show. They knew they were cheesy, which is why I loved it, because they knew they were cheesy and then leaned into it. And I was like, okay, I can get along with this. I'm not saying this is the best show, I'm just saying I'm enjoying Legends of Tomorrow. Supergirl had its moments where it was good and where it was so it was a hit or miss. I'm trying to think if there was any other shows that that was in the Arrowverse roster. I don't think there was. I think the worst show in the Arrowverse has to be Batwoman. Oh, this suit would work better if it's a woman. But wait, the star, I'm gonna remind everybody that I'm gay. But wait, the main star leaves. We're gonna bring in another lady. Okay, cool. Hey guys, I'm going to remind you every 5 seconds that I'm black and I'm gay. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to be kind of like a WHORE. I don't know if I can say that word. And sleep with like practically every woman on the show, both Batwomans, every 5 seconds. It's like, the Batwoman was set up to fail the moment they aired that trailer. Anyways, what will become there of the Arrowverse? First things first, the CW's plan to revolutionize its business by targeting older audiences with reality shows and sports feels like a misguided gamble, which I agree. Unscripted series do pull in a very sizable audience, but they often fall short of capturing the see it gist unless they're really off the wall. See, I guess they're using examples of Dr. Pimple Popper or the Real Housewives families of shows. I think the best show that's not scripted is Whose Line Is It Anyways? That's the best show that's not scripted, but I feel like sure they could do some reality shows, sports, so sure, do that, but don't forget like shows like Arrow, essentially, where it was scripted. It has a story where people like me went to see each came by to the network each week to see like shows like Arrow, The Flash, Watch It Up Tomorrow, where it was scripted. So I hope they don't lose that as well. So scripted shows, unscripted shows, sports, sure, I can see that making the CW big bucks for sure. And bring Who's Line Is It Anyways back, because I know that got canned. That was a good show. That's one show I would definitely say bring back. It's a good show. If guys are having a hard day or need a good laugh, watch like the reruns of Who's Line Is It Anyways. And whenever, like, if they're still coming out with new episodes, which I think they are, watch it. Really good show. Just to kick back, relax, and laugh. Great show. Anyways. And considering that the CW is importing the questionable titled F-Boy Island from Max, these are the exact types of shows that new leadership intends to pump out. Factors that in with the fact that at first advertisers traditionally go after younger consumers, and it could be that the CW is sailing into the perfect storm of their own making. Moving on, the Arrowverse appears as dead as a doornail at this point. The Flash has reached the finish line. Superman and Lois isn't even connected to that world. Like I said, Superman and Lois kind of versed with the idea because like the first season seemed like it was on a different Earth, sir. And then the second season they written it out. It's like I think Superman and Lois can technically be part of the Arrowverse, just not on Earth. Like, I think it benefits from not being on Earth Prime, but I think it can still technically be part of the Arrowverse, if that makes sense. Just, like I said, not on Earth Prime. Anyways, let me get back to the beginning of the sentence. The Flash has reached the finish line. Superman and Lois isn't even connected to that world, and Justice You got axed before cameras even began to roll. Moreover, DC Studios co-CEOs, James Gunn and Peter Safran are remaking the DC universe into multiple formats, including television. Whether or not Arrowverse continuation or follow-up would fit into their plans remains to be seen, but it just doesn't seem likely that the pair will go out of their way to resurrect what came before over creating new content. Stephen Mill, former Arrow star, who recently came back for a guest spot on The Flash, said all the time that he'd be interested in doing an Arrowverse movie or limited series that did away with the trappings and constraints of the network's fare and was allowed to take a few more risks. Amell probably has a bit of sway, meaning that if he wanted to star in such a project, he might be able to get the wheels in motion. But it's up in the air as to whether he would pursue the avenue or not. Who knows? And I feel like if we get an Arrowverse movie that properly concludes, the Arrowverse, if you will, I feel like we should get the Justice League version. Like, what their rendition of the Justice League. What would the threat be? Be like Brainiac, or Darkseid. They have a Brainiac that's on Team Supergirl. Maybe he gets a virus, goes bad, and now like the Justice League has to team up with each other to defeat with some of their allies to defeat Brainiac. Or Justice League and some of their friends might have to team up with each other to defeat Darkseid, right? I think or even like Darkseid and Lex Luthor, who knows? I think there's a few ideas where they could like pull the whole Arrowverse Justice League into it, but I think like if there were to be an Arrowverse movie, I think it should be centered around the Justice League, because we had never it was teased in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, but we never got to see the Arrowverse version of the Justice League team up. And I know the chances of that is unlikely, but yet again, we got like Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 after Star Wars The Clone Wars got canned. So I feel like there's that chance, but small chance, but like I said, I think I would be up for an Arrowverse Justice League movie. Because I admittedly do have some interest in seeing what could have been. Or even make that Arrowverse movie that I'm referring to into a limited time, like one season off Justice League show in the Arrowverse. James Gunn did say that there any project that doesn't connect to his is gonna be an Elseworld, and Elseworld he'll acknowledge it exists, but not his continuity. So he already gave a way out, if that makes sense. So I don't know. That's just me. But and I feel like the reason why they the Arrowverse kind of ended, didn't make a profit for the CW, was because they kept on excuse me. They kept on every 5 seconds focusing on the love stories and pandering to the people who are obsessed with the whole pride section of our society nowadays. And I'm not really saying that you shouldn't, because sure, maybe at times from here and there, okay, have a gay couple, sure, if you want to represent that, sure, but don't have that overpower your storytelling. That's where the problem is. I feel like that's why Batwoman ultimately failed, because it focused more on the whole gay pride try to pander to the LGBT community and not so much of the story. So that's just me. Anyways, the Arrowverse, regardless of the flaws, that always will have a special place in my heart because it's literally been part of my life for 11 years. I've literally watched all the Arrowverse shows, and it's starting to feel weird not having Arrow, Flash, Legends, Black Lightning to look forward to in October and seeing it week to week. For a little bit, at least. So, what do you beautiful people have to say? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Be kind to one another. I'll talk to you fellow mutants later. Later, taters.